Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm Attorney Mawuli Davis, one of the partners here at the Davis Bozeman Law Firm. I'm joined by our managing partner, Attorney Robert Bozeman, as well as our senior law partner, Attorney Harold Spence, who is working directly on the case with myself and Attorney Shannon Young, who is present as well. We have been investigating the death of Cornelius Taylor, and that investigation has revealed some troubling facts, especially in light of the recent police incident report that was released. And so thanks to the hard work of Attorney Shannon Young, we were able to interview the medical examiner on yesterday. And so myself, Attorney Young, Attorney Spence, we were able to interview the medical examiner who performed the autopsy on Mr. Cornelius Taylor. And it flew directly in the face of what was alleged by the Atlanta Police Department. And I want to take a moment to just frame what we're dealing with here. There is this tragedy. This mother, these siblings get a phone call that their loved one has been killed, and killed in a very horrific way. They go down. On Sunday, they go worship at Ebenezer, and then they come out and they go and see the tent where Cornelius was living. And then they see his blood in that tent. And it is unimaginable to have to look in an Atlanta city street and see your loved one's blood spilled. And that was in fact what they saw. That's what we saw. And so, of course, we began to ask questions. How did this happen? What happened? And by all accounts, he was crushed by a heavy piece of equipment, whether it's a bulldozer, a front loader, but he was crushed by a heavy piece of equipment, and that led to his death. Well, to be re-victimized, they are then confronted with an incident report, and on that incident report, it says suspected cause of death, overdose. Overdose. And so we were stunned that they would have the audacity to put in writing something as ridiculous as a man being run over by a heavy piece of equipment, that the suspected cause of death was an overdose. But that's our feelings. The family, they were heartbroken. They felt like here's a character assassination, here's an attempt by the city of Atlanta once again to shuck their responsibility for this loss of life. And the investigation that we conducted led us to the medical examiner, and it forced us to have this press conference. We didn't want to have to put them through this again. We didn't want them to have to face the cameras and the lights as they are trying to prepare for this funeral on Monday. But we had to in order to combat this falsehood. This, unfortunately, is very much like what we saw in Katherine Johnston. If you all remember, Katherine Johnston was a 92-year-old grandmother who was just in her home in Atlanta, minding her own business, when the Red Dog unit kicked in that door, going to the wrong house, and they shoot her. And rather than acknowledge that they were wrong, they handcuffed this 92-year-old woman and let her bleed out. And then they created another narrative, and what they put out in the media and for public consumption was that she was selling dope out of her house. Do you see the similarities in how they seek to use drugs as a way to deflect and to criminalize the victim? And so that's one example. If you look as recently as George Floyd, if you look at the initial police reports on George Floyd in Minneapolis, this is a pattern where they attempt again, to redirect people, to misdirect people about the true source of a victim's death. And so I'm going to move and allow Attorney Spence to disclose and lay out the specific injuries that we were able to determine based on our interview with the medical examiner on yesterday afternoon, so that you can have an understanding. I will say this: his injuries were fatal, period. It was not an overdose. End of story. And the scientific medical evidence proves that. And so, Atlanta, your attempts to assassinate this victim's character has failed yet again. Attorney Spence.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're here because a conscious decision was made to try to suppress the interest of the public in the death of Cornelius Taylor. If you believe that he died of a drug overdose, then interest in his death would quickly wane. Interest in any movement concerning the unhoused might lose its steam. Those were the objectives of this false narrative that he died of a drug overdose. Through the efforts of Attorney Shannon Young, we were able yesterday to speak with the medical examiner who performed the autopsy on Cornelius Taylor's body, providing her with a vantage point looking inside of his body that no other human being on planet Earth has had. When we spoke with the medical examiner, we had three principal questions. What were Cornelius Taylor's injuries? Were those injuries consistent with his body having been run over by a piece of heavy equipment or machinery? And were those injuries the cause of his death? Let's take each of those questions, and I'll tell you what the medical examiner told Attorney Davis, Attorney Young, and me. What were his injuries? He suffered massive internal injuries. Orthopedically, he suffered a split pelvis. And the doctor struggled to explain this to us. Then she said, well, let me give you a lay example. Stand. She told each of us to stand. Stand up. Put each of your hands on your hips. Take your left, where your left hand is, draw a line diagonally across your pelvis to the right side. That diagonal line was where his pelvis was not fractured, but split. It was torn asunder. That's how she explained it to us. She also told us that he suffered other serious internal injuries to his spleen, a lacerated and crushed spleen, and a lacerated and crushed liver. So these are the physical injuries that he suffered. Would an overdose produce a split pelvis? Would an overdose produce a lacerated spleen or liver? No, would not. So those are the injuries that he suffered. Then we asked her, the injuries that you described, were these injuries consistent with his body having been run over by a piece of heavy machinery? She said, absolutely. That it would have taken tremendous force to produce the kind of pelvic injury that she observed when she opened his body up. We asked her, if he had survived for any period of time, and according to the police report, we know that he did survive for some period of time, we asked her, would these injuries have been painful? Incredibly painful is how she described it. Doesn't take much to imagine that if a multi-ton vehicle or piece of equipment ran over your body, that it might cause injuries that would be painful. So she told us, yes, these injuries are absolutely consistent with a piece of heavy machinery having run over his body. And finally we asked her, were these injuries the cause of his death? Absolutely, she told us. These injuries were the cause of his death. So let's dispel this narrative. He suffered injuries, physical orthopedic injuries that were the result of his body being run over by a piece of heavy machinery, and these injuries were the cause of Cornelius Taylor's death. Because this narrative had been out here, because of the incident report, if he had drugs of some type in his system, would this have made a difference? Would a person who had these types of injuries, but no drugs in his or her system, would that person have survived? No. The drugs had nothing to do with these injuries, these fatal injuries that caused Cornelius Taylor's death. So we hope that this information that we received from not somebody associated with us, somebody who is an independent source of information, the medical examiner, who has no reason to favor either side. The role of the medical examiner is to make an objective examination of a body and then make an objective analysis of why a death occurred. So the doctor is completing the autopsy. The toxicology reports have not been sent in yet. She hasn't received them. And so the manner of death. The manner of death is still inconclusive. As you know, there are only a limited number of ways that a medical examiner can classify a death. Natural, suicide, homicide, accident. And so once the report is complete, then the medical examiner will be able to provide an official manner of death. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Spence. We want to, we want to give the family an opportunity to share a couple of items of importance for the family. And we have had the honor of representing a lot of families in the Atlanta and Georgia in very, very difficult times. And this family they've made some decisions about what's important to them. And we think that it's important for you all to know what's important to them is beyond, because everyone keeps asking us, where's the civil lawsuit? I hope by now many of you all know that we are a movement building, community focused law firm that is a part of a social justice ecosystem that seeks to transform the systems that continue to oppress predominantly Black, brown, and poor people. That is part of our mission. That is the work that we do. And so we're not just here to try to cast blame and jump off and file a lawsuit. We are here accompanied by these community organizers that have put their lives consistently in the social justice flow and movement. They work with the unhoused. They work to build affordable housing. And so we believe that it's appropriate for us and for this family to be in relationship with them so that we can figure out how Atlanta can move forward in a way that the unhoused are no longer unhoused, but they have permanent housing, and that there will not be another situation where Cornelius Taylor, his life is taken. And with that, I'd like for his mother, Lois Taylor, is here, and his siblings who he grew up with, Darlene and Derek, his cousin, Antoinette has come here as well from Social Circle. They will be coming in mass from Social Circle and from the surrounding areas in Atlanta on February 3rd, this coming Monday, to come to Ebenezer to lift up Cornelius and to do much more than that. And I'd like for Darlene to share what they have chosen to do, which is extraordinary, especially as they continue to grieve.
Thank you all for being here. The funeral is February 3rd at Ebenezer Church. After the funeral, we decided to do a horse-drawn carriage from Ebenezer to City Hall so that City Hall can see what they killed, who they killed. It is more than a body. He is my brother. So we want to march there silently, almost like silent anger, so that they can all see us stand together as a city. So I do ask that you all come and support. If you do not come to the service, please come and march with us, stand in solidarity. After the procession, we will go down to a private burial in Rutledge, Georgia, where he'll be buried. We'll come back to Atlanta. We will not do a repast. Instead, we have chosen to go feed the hungry, well, the homeless, the less fortunate. We will do it over on Wheat Street, where his community was. And, after that, we're just hoping to resurrect change. We're hoping that this won't happen again. Nobody else should be here thinking they could have called their sibling, or their sibling would have called them, or their cousin, whoever it is, only to find out they've been killed by the city that they loved. And then for the city, it's going too far. And then for the city to not only attempt to tarnish their character, but really just minimize them to a drug addict, because that's what it is. They're just trying to say he's a drug addict and he doesn't matter. But he did matter, and that's where they messed up, because he has a family, he has a support system, and I hope he has the city of Atlanta standing behind him as well. Please, guys, show up and show out. If not for me, please do it for Cornelius, because all of us have a Cornelius.
Thank you all. Any questions that you might have? Yes, George?
Start with this. Like when Martin Luther King Jr. died in 1968, there's a horse-drawn procession that sounds an awful lot like this one. Is the horse-drawn carriage that you're saying, is this an intentional comparison?
He's worthy of being known for more than a homeless man. Usually things such as a horse-drawn carriage, they draw attention. They let it be known, oh, he was somebody went the extra mile. So we're going the extra mile.
We also are reminded that Hosea Williams was also carried in a horse-drawn carriage. So there are people who have impacted Atlanta and the world. It's this family's hope that Cornelius Taylor impacts Atlanta and the world, that his death will change dramatically how the unhoused. There's no reason. Atlanta is the leader in so much. We're the leader in movies. We're the leader in music.
Black Mecca.
We're the leader in civil rights and destinations. Why can't we lead the rest of the country in how to treat the unhoused humanely? Why not? Why not this city? If any city, it should be this one. And this family believes that. These organizers, some of whom knew Cornelius in life, they believe that. They believe that this can be a pivotal moment for the city and for the country to address the unhoused in a much more humane way and ensure that we're looking for solutions and not looking to scapegoat people.
And we're talking about the Fulton County medical examiners, correct, that you spoke with? The report isn't released, hasn't been public released yet, but you were able to have an interview prior to that release about the current standing of the autopsy.
That is correct.
Okay. And the moving forward, I have to ask, and out of no disrespect, is there a possibility that he could have been under any kind of drug?
Of course.
The toxicology report?
We suspect that most folks Some folks even in this room are probably on something, right? But we know that if you're out in the street and you're trying to cope with being unhoused in freezing cold, it's very likely that you may be on some drug of some sort. But that does not change how he died. That did not cause his death. The folks that caused his death sit at City Hall and they make policies that say, you don't need to check that tent. You don't need to be concerned enough about the unhoused. We just need to get rid of them.
And from your conversation with the medical examiner, she clearly said that regardless of that, the cause of death is clearly from the equipment and the crushing that happened. From the conversation you've had, she said drugs wouldn't even have played a factor if in fact he was and was not.
Well, the medical examiner takes everything into account.
Right.
So I'm not going to say it's not a factor. That's why we wanted to ask her very explicitly, what was Cornelius Taylor's cause of death? Did he die as a result of being run over by heavy machinery? Her answer was an unequivocal, absolute yes.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
First of all, I just want to say I'm so sorry for y'all's loss. I am curious, how have the past 2 weeks been for you all as a family with so much back and forth and so much confusion of what happened to Cornelius?
Traumatizing. When you first hear about it, he's crushed. So you're trying to, you can't accept it, but you try to process it. And then you hear, or you read the report that says it was just a nosebleed. And it's like, oh, just a nosebleed. There's no other blood, but I was there. I saw the blood, and I've seen nosebleeds. And you don't die from that type of blood. You die from the blood that I saw on the ground. So then to hear this just recently, it's just re-traumatizing. I can't even say we're processing because we're so busy trying to fight for him and get him buried and go through the motions, picking out clothes that. This is insane. I don't know how we're doing. This morning I was looking up a therapist because we're talking amongst each other. So we're all just we're passing trauma here, here, here. We're doing terrible. But we are very grateful for all the people that are reaching out and are fighting for him. And it makes every moment easier. Derek and I were talking last night about something a week from now. I was like, I'm literally going hour by hour right now. I'm not making it to the next day until the 12th hour of the night. Like, it's hard, y'all. It's hard. But I know, yet again, what Cornelius would do for me. I know what he'd do for him. And he'd be right here. So I'll stand here every day.
I want to say the same thing. Very sorry for your loss. I was curious whether anyone from the city, whether it's the mayor or anyone, has reached out to any of y'all to apologize or to say anything.
Yeah, we spoke to the mayor maybe last week. Mm-hmm. Last week, he did send his sympathies and condolences. So hopefully now we can just work together to create change.
We would hope that at some point someone would come out from the city and they have the information we have, right? I mean, Attorney Shannon Young is a great young attorney, but they've got very experienced attorneys that have access to the medical examiner like us. So by now they know what we know. They haven't said we need to acknowledge something, that his body was in fact crushed, that his pelvis was crushed. We need to acknowledge that because we know that by putting this document out, it sends a narrative, it creates a narrative that is false. No one said that yet. That's leadership. That's what we're looking for. That's what this family deserves, is somebody to say, hey.
Transparency.
Be transparent. Now that you know, even though you can blame it on one police officer's analysis, now that you know as a system, speak on it.
Can I ask, the mayor's backed a moratorium on encampments and several council members have backed it as well. What would you like to see from the city moving forward, and do you think it's enough just doing a moratorium and saying that they're going to kind of review their policies and procedures as well?
The family's been working very closely with many of these housing advocates and organizers, and so they're really in collaboration. These are the subject matter experts. This is a family who, you know, they have a lived experience. Darlene knows how hard she tried to help her brother get off the street. She tried. She knew the hurdles. She experienced those, so she can share those. But systemic change, none of us, including the lawyers here, are qualified to say what is enough. We're relying on these subject matter experts. They are what we consider indigenous leadership in this space, and it's only proper that we listen to them, we learn from them, and the fact that they're allowing and lifting up Cornelius' name in this way is really what the family has. They've offered up his name, his image for this cause.
And Darlene, would you like to hear more from the mayor than you have heard?
Would I like to hear more from the mayor?
Yeah, and city officials.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to hear them say they're willing to sit down with us and come together to create policies that will really work for everybody, not just to appease the moment. Like, we really want something for the future. This happened, shouldn't happen again, as I've said a million times. So sit down, let's make this an open conversation, an open dialogue. I like to see truth happen, change happen.
And I will say the mayor has offered to meet with the family in person again, so I don't want that to be the narrative. Yeah. He has offered to meet. We will meet. Obviously, right now, they're just trying to gather up folks from around to come to the funeral. And so in the appropriate time, the family will meet. And I know that the organizers and advocates have been reaching out, and there's been some collaboration there and some meetings. So we're hopeful that this is the moment that things change, that his name will be forever associated with a different kind of policy and a different looking city.
Can you talk about, we've heard your brother and your son's name so much in the past 2 weeks. We've heard about what happened. Can you tell us more about who he was? That we see his smile, but we didn't get the chance to get to know him.
Cornelius was a bad comedian. He was a jokester. When we were younger, WWE was, well, it's probably still around, but it was around, and Cornelius was my teammate. And, you know, because I'm the youngest, he was the oldest. So he trained me up. He was a protector. He would give guidance however he could. He loved food, sweet potato pie to be specific, and chicken tenders. He could draw. He was very artistic. He liked to rap. He had a desire to get so much closer to being a family man again, like being all-inclusive. He was a man of God. He loved to read. He was an all-around, he was you and me. Like, he really was. The things you liked, he liked. The things you loved, he loved. The things you despised, he despised. He didn't, I remember I told him somebody broke in my car. He had a fit and was ready to protect me because he was a protector. He was an awesome guy. I don't know how I'm gonna go on. You know, I listened to his voicemails and I'm just grateful I even have that. But I don't know, he was a man of his word too. Like he said, he called. He showed up. However he could, whatever that looked like for him, he showed up. Yeah, he was awesome, and he's gonna be missed. And I know it's just not the family, it is the family he had outside of this room, the family he had in the community. And I know I'm not the only one that can vouch for him. He was an awesome guy.
So
Thanks for asking.
Yeah. The city took 10 days to release this initial incident report. The initial incident report doesn't generally take 10 days to release. The narrative from the report was written maybe 4 hours after the actual incident. Do you believe that the city took that long because the report is so much at odds with the physical evidence that was available to us?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to speculate about the motives. Again, I gave 2 examples of how police reports and incident reports about very major, significant incidents involving victims have been skewed with Katherine Johnston and again with George Floyd. I think that the natural, unfortunate knee-jerk reaction is defend rather than be transparent. And that is a sad state of where we are. But, that's why we're here. The only thing that we know to do is fight, and to keep fighting, and to keep trying to find some common space where we can build something. We're going to fight until you agree that we can build. That's just what it is. And so this family wants to build. But if you put out false narratives, then we got to fight against the false narrative. But when you're ready to sit down and build, then let's build.
Based on what you know now, and I know it's early, but based on what you've learned, who do you believe had the responsibility to search that tent?
It's for us. It's so much bigger than the one person who's supposed to search the tent. It really goes back to the why are you demolishing people's homes without having a place for them to go? It's as simple as this. If Cornelius Taylor did not have keys to an apartment, keys to a home, then why are you displacing him? Why are you tearing up the very little belongings that he has? That's how we have to look at this. What we've been taught by these leaders is that it's housing first. Not housing only, but housing first. Start with housing people, and then after you get them housed, you do wraparound services. So whether they have mental health, whether they have addictions, whatever other issues they may have, like all of us, then you address that. But first, get them off the street. But this wouldn't have been an issue. He wouldn't even be in the tent if somebody would say, "Hey, here's your key. I'll take you over, bring your things, and set up." But that demolish mentality it's destructive. It destroys not just bodies but souls. You're tearing up somebody's life when they can't find a little bit of stuff they have been able to cobble together and call their own, and then you trash it. That's a heart blow.
I was told early on that by a city official that clearing this encampment had nothing to do with the Martin Luther King holiday events. Interesting thing was, I think 2 days later, another city official told me the exact opposite. Said, yes, we were clearing the encampment ahead of in preparation for the holiday events associated with Martin Luther King holiday. I've been told two different things. What's your understanding on which one's true?
We don't have any evidence as to the motivation behind clearing the camp. We have also heard competing narratives about that, but it would be irresponsible for me to say that was it. Obviously, the timing was right before, so whatever it is, whoever called it, we believe that our investigation will ultimately reveal all of the different participants and the factors. That's what we're committed to. This family wants answers. We hope that the body camera footage will be shown to the family first. We know that should be in the coming days. Their objective is to get to Monday, have a beautiful funeral, a homegoing service, have a powerful silent processional, and again, please, City of Atlanta, don't turn out all the police that you have. There's no need for that. This isn't about that. We were met with a show of force in City Hall the other day that was disturbing to this family, to this mama. She just wanted to walk up with the organizers and deliver a letter. Please don't do that on Monday. All we want to do is just process silently, and then they want to go have a private burial and then come back and feed his village. That's simple. After that, we'll figure it out from there.
Just to follow up on George's question, do you know whether the City of Atlanta, that they have in their policy regarding these sweeps or these cleaning up the encampments, whether whether they specify how people are notified. I mean, I know they're notified, months and months in advance, whatever. But, in the moments right before that equipment comes up, do they have a procedure in place or a policy? Have you seen that policy?
We have not. We've seen I think what everybody has seen, like the days of leading up.
Right.
So we've seen that, but we have not seen what is right before you take a heavy piece of equipment and run through somebody's house, here's what you're supposed to do. Like, that in and of itself it's crazy to think. Like, right before we tear down all that's left, here's what you do.
Was there any loudspeakers that were used, any kind of bullhorn, or something that people could hear?
Sylvia?
I didn't hear anything about that. I didn't hear anything about that.
Nolan, anything?
Nothing.
These are two of the on-the-ground service providers who had a chance to interact with Cornelius in life, and so they knew him, they helped him, they were working with him, and so they had a good idea of where he was going and how he was trying to put his life back together.
Would you identify yourself?
Yeah, Joy. Why don't we? That'd be great. Joy, can you introduce yourself and tell them about the work that you do?
My name is Joy Monroe, and I am the director of START, which is the Single Parent Alliance and Resource Center. And we work with families that are living in extended stay motels. We help identify families who are paying the expensive weekly motel rate, so who could afford to move into an apartment of their own. So we provide moving funds because they cannot afford to save money while living in motels, so that they can move into an apartment of their own.
My name is Sylvia Broom, and I work in an organization called Remerge. Our office is directly in front of where Cornelius was living. I spend a lot of time out in the neighborhood, particularly on Old Wheat Street, getting to know people. My focus is creating a sense of community, and through the community, when one needs help from another, they know who can help them, love them, support them, and that was my relationship with Cornelius. He was one of our family.
Nolan English, Traveling Grace Ministries, founder and CEO. We do mobile case management. We work with the chronically homeless specifically and the very service resistant. We move people on paths from homelessness to self-sufficiency.
Tony Young?
Hello, my name is Shannon Young. I'm an attorney associate here at Davis Bozeman. I'm assisting on this case. As was mentioned previously, I'm responsible for connecting with the medical examiner, trying to get the information that we did obtain so far about how Mr. Taylor died.
I'm Antoinette. I'm Cornelius' first cousin.
I'm Tim Franz. I'm with the American Friends Service Committee. We partner with a number of community organizations, including the Housing Justice League.
Thank you all. We appreciate you being here, and we hope that Atlanta will come out, support this family, and not only at the funeral, but at this silent processional, and then come back and feed the village, the family that Sylvia mentioned. Thank you all.